Hey trainees, this is Pride and Glory. I am Rose Shabalala.
And I'm Tobisa Ziki coming back at you with a brand new episode. So guys, as you can see, we have the best studio here. We have upgraded. So out from nature and into the studio.
Honestly speaking. Honestly speaking, guys, we tired of being outside hearing taxis beeping around and everything. So we thought let's just formalize things a bit. So before we start, you know how we do it, we always start with an icebreaker, right? So the icebreaker that we have today, I hope you have your thinking cap on. The icebreaker that we have today is, if you had to be stuck on an island, right? What 3 things would you bring with you?
All right. So definitely a phone. I would hope the signal works.
I was about to say, what if there's no signal?
But sometimes maybe just to take videos, just to document my journey, so that when I come out of the forest, I can prove like I was listening to people I was in the forest.
Okay.
And then a lighter for sure, for fire, and just to signal to a police. No, signal for a helicopter when they come through, and I'm like, hey guys, listen, come save me.
Okay.
And you?
Personally, first thing that I'll take is a toolbox, because it has all the essentials. I mean, it is one thing, you know. So I'll take a toolbox. And then I'll take a bottle, because where am I storing my water?
Okay.
You know, so I'll take a bottle. Yes. And then I will take a rope, because then I'll need to tie. What if I want to make a tent? Anything. So I'll take a rope. So those are the 3 things that I would take.
Okay.
But here's the catch, right?
Yes.
So the thing is that most of the time when we think about things, like when we think about health, we always think about physical things.
Yes.
You know, you think about, okay, I need a book, I need someone to talk to. But then what about your mental state? That's the thing.
Yes.
So you don't think about things that could actually feed your mental self. Oh, yeah. So when you go onto this island, you can be stuck. But what if you're not okay mentally? You know, are you going to be able to survive in that island?
Actually, you're making me think now. Actually, I'm gonna replace the knife with the Bible. And I'm just gonna say like I'm gonna leave the Bible with me there.
So in today's episode, we are going to be talking about a lot of things. Okay, so the first thing obviously is the pressure to be an expert. We're going to talk about being in the middle, because we are in the middle of the year currently at the moment, right? So for the fact that we're in the middle of the year, at the beginning of the year, you set your goals, right?
Yeah. Yes,
I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to read. I wanted to do all those things. Yeah. But now you get to a point where you feel drained. You feel tired. You're exhausted. You don't want to do this anymore, right?
Yes.
So in that moment, how do you spark up that flame? Because guys, we still have 6 months to the end of the year.
We still have 6 months, truly. Yes.
So how do you spark up the year?
So to spark up the year again, so to spark up the flame rather, I think we should always, first mentally how to trace the why. So the why is important. So the why, in the first episode we spoke about the why and why you're doing certain things. So I think when you get burnt out, you start getting into routine and everything feels so mechanistic. Yeah. And there's no passion to it anymore. Yeah. So I think the why is important. To find your why, to just take a weekend off and go and sit somewhere in nature. Yes, you know when you say touch grass and you will be good again. Yeah. Find your why. And then secondly, to hang out with people who made those goals with you. Because I think it's very difficult to continue alone, because in the beginning of the year it's a group, it's always like a bunch of people, or it's you and your partner, it's already like I'm gonna make all these goals together, and then throughout the year people just get dispersed and
people start filtering out.
Yes. So I would say, even if let's say you started in your trainee, in your audit position trainee, with the first years you came in with, find those first years again and hang out again. And with that, it boosts the excitement that you had in the beginning, because you can see that you're not alone. You're actually working with people. Find your gym partner that you lost. Yeah. And call them and say, hey, we need to gym. And that brings up your passion. You need the community. So you need community and you need your why.
It actually ties back to the previous episode that we're talking about, because remember we were saying that don't let the pressure condition you, right? Yeah. For the fact that now we're all experiencing pressure. We feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being left behind. You know, I'm not achieving the goals that I actually set out for myself. But then it's like, okay, why are you allowing this pressure to condition you? Because now when you're operating from pressure, you're bound to make mistakes. You're not as motivated. Then now you start to disguise laziness, you know, in that. So honestly speaking, you have to assess your environment, do an audit, like a lifestyle audit, see the people that you're talking to, the people that you hang out with, because sometimes if you surround yourself with negativity, you're bound to carry that energy and everything. So you're just like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym anymore. You know, let me just feast on that McDonald's, you know? So that's the biggest thing, honestly speaking. And then, like, why do we often judge ourselves like more harshly than others?
I think a lot of us, okay, I'm going to speak industry-wise. This was for me. A lot of us, so firstly, you don't get into audit or accounting by just being average at school. So I think a lot of us, when we start to do overachievers, overperformers, or you just knew that you knew your stuff. So coming into a corporate space, you start to feel like, oh, why don't I know anything?
And you're like that.
Yes, and you're much slower, or it takes time to figure things out. And I think we tend to, because we look at our seniors, or we look at where we want to be, and we remove ourselves from where we are, and we put ourselves to where we want to be, and then obviously there will be a gap, and we can't comprehend the gap. So I think we start judging ourselves like, no, I need to be better. But the thing is, you have to accept that you won't be as great as your senior, you know. So I think you have to like learn to almost like be slow again, learn to walk again. So I think if you have too much pressure on yourself, it's not going to communicate well.
Yes, you're right, because I remember last year actually I was working and studying, right? So when I started, because obviously I moved firms. So when I was continuing with my articles, I'm like, actually, I can work and study, right? Just because everyone else was doing it. But the thing is now, I didn't assess my circumstances that, okay, can I personally, as an individual, can I work and study, right? Because obviously we have different home circumstances. Things are different. When I get home, I have different responsibilities as opposed to someone else, right? So then I didn't take that into my decision-making style. So it just comes down to that sometimes when we do make decisions, we actually base it on how other people are doing it. But the thing is, you don't understand the support structure that they have in comparison to you. So then I used to judge myself like, no, how come this person is doing it? Obviously, I can do it. I'm going to work. I'm going to study. I'm going to do everything. And where did that land me? That landed me like facing like a lot of health issues where I wasn't like the healthiest person at that time. I would have like random mental breakdowns, and I realized that no, I have to start assessing my goals, because at the end of the day, it's my journey which is unique to me, which goes back to why we're actually pursuing the CASA route, because you want to be a difference maker. You know? So whatever journey you are pursuing and the way you want to carry forth your journey becomes a story for someone else so that they can follow, you know, because that's the end of the day. So then I realized that no, actually, I'm not going to compare myself. I have to assess my circumstances, see what I can best do at this moment, because at the end of the day, I can control that, you know. So that's what I did. I was like, there's no way. So then I was like, let me just pause the studies for now, finish off my articles, and when I'm done with my articles, then I can continue my studying. And we are gonna get there. Like it's all
the thing. The point is you're gonna get there at the end. I think a lot of people think like, if I stop like running as much as I am now, if I stop pushing, I'm never gonna get there. And that's simply not true.
And you mentioned that you're doing what are you doing in November? The
high rocks. I'm doing the high rocks.
And how's that
so going? It's funny. Someone actually asked me earlier, how's my training going? So I actually I've been gymming in the general sense, like going to the gym. But I actually like started like high rocks in itself. So I'm doing high rocks with a partner. So we decided, okay, we're gonna just fully go into it. We're gonna set a date, and then we're gonna fully like establish. And it also has to do with what you put in your body as well, because not you're gonna train and whatnot, but we're gonna have to eat like rice and chicken and
healthy, minimal spices. Everything needs to be healthy.
Like no
but that's
chips.
ironic because everyone is now experiencing the burnout, right? We're all tired. I'm tired as well. But there are some days where I'm just like, you know what? When are we getting to December? But then here you are starting something new in the middle of the year. How are you doing that?
I think it's because I don't know. I think at the end of the year I need to look back and be proud of the things that have made me tired. So as much as I'm like the burnout season is now, but what is to think? Okay, to regroup your mind, not to think with a tired mind, but to think with your future mind and say, what am I going to look back and be proud of what I've accomplished? I don't want to look back and be sad because I didn't do this because I let my body tell me in that moment I couldn't do something. So I think essentially a mindset thing. Like at the end of the year, what do you want to look back and be proud of? Yeah.
And that's how, you know how at the middle of the year right now, a lot of people are applying for new jobs, you know, you have to start assessing that, okay, how are you being an asset to the spaces that you actually present yourself to, you know? How are you actually contributing to the spaces that you walk into? So whether it's your friendship circle, whether it's in the corporate space, how are you actually being an asset, you know, in those spaces?
So I think you can answer that, Rose.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely answer that because you know why I'm saying that? Because I was assessing, because I'm in my final year of articles at the moment, right? So then a lot of people keep asking me, okay, what's next? And I'm just like, guys, I just know articles. That's what I've been doing. I've been doing LOR submissions. I've been doing, you know, all the audit files, signing off deadlines and stuff like that. So I'm just like, oh my word, I haven't thought about the next move. Hence, I asked you that, okay, how are you able to start something which is new? Because that's where I am at the moment, where I have to think about, okay, how am I going to start something new? So obviously I had to sit down and look at my CV that, okay, what skills have I actually acquired throughout, right? So I was doing like a pros and cons thing. So then with my pros and cons list, I looked at it and said, okay, these are the skills that I've acquired in the past 2.5 years. We're almost there, 6 months left. These are the skills that we've acquired. And then where do I want to go? So I'm putting myself in the middle. Remember, we had that slogan that we had at the beginning when we said momentum ignites discipline. And then obviously that discipline will lead to elevation. So at the moment, I'm in that position where I actually need to be disciplined at this moment because I can't keep pushing things back to say, oh, no, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Because then I'm going to wake up, then December's here and it's like, okay, what's my next move? So my biggest question that I've been asking myself is that, okay, how am I going to be an asset? So for the fact that we are moving into an AI generation, right? I mean, it's everywhere, guys. There's Copilot, there's Claude, like all these other skills. So what am I doing? So what I started recently is I signed up for a Claude and a Copilot course. So then at least I can start equipping myself, because at the end of the day, now it's about a thing of how quickly are you able to finish this particular section, you know? It's not about, okay, no, you spent 8 hours, because at the end of the day, you want to ensure that the company is able to save costs, but still get value out of the audit, you know? So that's the biggest thing that I'm looking at, because like example, if we're doing like revenue testing, I know that takes ages, you know, but you have tools like data where you can actually like input all your invoices and it can extract all that data for you. But the thing is that if you cannot use those tools, are you really going to be an asset to that company? So then what I'm doing now, before I even apply for like these positions or everything, I look at the roles and responsibilities, right? Because I don't want to be generic in my interviews where I'm just like, oh, yeah, I'm a hard worker. Guys, everyone's a hard worker. I can work, you know. Everyone's a hard worker, you know, time pressure, time management. We all have time management skills and stuff like that. But then you need to learn how can you actually expand within that particular word. So example, working under pressure. I can explain that, okay, we've worked with a couple of JSE listed audits. Guys, with JSE listed audits, the deadline remains. Like, I can't just be like, oh no, can we just move it to the next month? No. So then how are you working through that pressure? So obviously you need to assess yourself with the priorities of tasks that, okay, I'm going to do this first, then this, right? So those are things that I've incorporated in the firm where, example, if maybe the client is doing something separately, right, in a very long way, I can basically utilize those tools and be like, no, guys, I think this is the perfect way of doing things. So what I'm doing is basically looking at the roles and responsibilities for that particular job and basically try to take my audit experience and expand on that, so that in the interview I'm not just being generic. So so I know I have a creative part of it and I'm all for wellness and everything. So those are the things that I also want to incorporate also, because a lot of people just focus on the work, but it's like, guys, what about the mental states? Like, what about the mind? If the mind is not nutritional, obviously you're not going to function. Like, you're just going to die out. So those are the skills that I'm going to be bringing in to whatever firm I walk into.
That's actually really good. You're actually reminding me of there's a lady who spoke at the training collective, and she was speaking about setting yourself up for greatness. So in terms of signing up for new courses and things like that, it's actually funny. You reminded me now. I actually did sign up for a course like last week for coding, JavaScript coding, and building apps and such and things like that. And because essentially, I do think IT at auditing is really very much linked together. So I thought to myself, okay, let me build up my IT skills, because as somebody who's gonna own their own audit firm one day, I just
Yes.
you need to
take
know
me on as a
yes,
director.
you need to know you need to have like the good skills, even if you're not going to be the one to use it fully, but you have the capacity to understand what's happening in your firm. So I would say setting yourself up for greatness. So while you're doing your training articles, don't just focus on the articles in itself, but to see, okay, what other skills can I bring on that is going to help the firm, or like to be essentially to be set apart from every other candidate. And one thing, the one word I took from, the one phrase I took from that event was that you shouldn't just be the best to do it, you should be the first.
Yes.
Or you should be the only
one.
The only to do it. So I even wrote in my journal, my auditing journal, I was like, okay, I don't have to be the best, I have to be the only. And that brings more pressure to be like, okay, what can I do to be better for these people? And secondly, I think coaching as well.
Yeah.
The ability to coach is very essential. So the ability to teach people what to do to do things. Because I think every audit firm or every training firm rather needs somebody who has the ability to coach people. Especially because a lot of audit firms, they say, oh, we don't have the time to do all the training.
Yes,
and it's just being put on like seniors to just coach. And not everyone has those skills. Mind you, it's okay to not have
learn
those
on the
skills.
job.
yes. But for some people, they need the actual coaching, the actual training. So to open training programs in your firm as well. And I think if you can build the ability to coach, you help a lot of firms to bridge that gap easily. Yeah.
So you definitely also need to remember that at this point, right?
Yes.
For the fact that, okay, we're bringing in your coaches, but at the end of the day, people can give you all these tools, right?
Yeah.
People can like shower you with all these self-help books. You know what I mean? There's self-help books, motivational quotes, you know. But now the thing is, how are you going to utilize those things and break out of your shell? I think that's where we are in the middle. For the fact that we're currently in the middle, we've set our goals, you know, we've conditioned ourselves to say, okay, I'm not going to let the pressure define me. But now I need to break out of my shell. Because then I have a CSA who's telling me this is wrong. But in your heart of heart, you know, I've tasted this is correct. You know? How do you, like, we need to learn how to build that confidence to say that actually, no, I'm going to stand on this, you know, I believe in this. That's the thing. I think as trainees, we're not confident, you know, we lack that because it's a thing of, no, but they qualified, they know better. But sometimes growth requires visibility, you know. You don't need to be in your shell, be like, oh no, you know what, I'm just going to shy away. Yes, I'll just do it as the manager says, do this, you just take it at face value. But sometimes growth requires visibility. Like you need to learn how to step out. You need to learn how to ask the relevant questions, you know. You need to be okay with not knowing certain things sometimes. I think so the fact that we are in the middle, we need to actually learn how to break out.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. And I found this very recently. I've been thinking, I think the reason why we don't break out is because a lot of us don't actually comprehend that we're actually auditors. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Like I
found myself in this pathway.
Yes, it's like we don't actually understand, like, okay, I'm in this firm, yes, I'm a trainee, but I'm actually working for this company and therefore my voice means something. I think a lot of trainees, we think, okay, maybe they're just doing me a favor, so let me just sit back and take what they're telling me to do and not like think for myself. Do you understand? It's like we think, okay, because I'm also not qualified, they're just doing me I don't actually work here. This is I'm moving through. But once you yes. But once you move through that understanding, you're like, okay, I actually work here. There's a seat here in this company with my name on it. When I sign not signing financials, but when I sign off audit working papers, that's my name there. They refer to me when Rose has signed off tax, they're gonna go to tax Rose and be like, please explain this difference because they're going to come to you because you've been assigned to do it because it was yours. So I think we need to also accept the work as ours. Like, this is mine. Yes, it's us, it's the firm, but this is my work and I want to be proud of it, confident about it, and therefore I'll be able to defend anything. So yes, and in that you just break out your shell. You're like, no, this is how I tested it because this is the way it should be tested. And if somebody's like, okay, maybe not, then you can have a decent conversation and discuss why. And with that, you you build up your confidence as well, because you learn how to defend the things that you're working on.
But I think also another thing is that sometimes as trainees, what I've noticed, right, you're so fixated in the job that you forget that you still need to build your career.
Yeah,
that's the problem. You just think that, oh, it's 8 to 5. Oh, no, I'm just doing them a favor. Oh, I just want to get my paycheck at the end, you know. But at the end of the day, after those 3 years, like this is where I am at the moment. After those 3 years, what's next? You know, if you just dedicated all your time to work, what happens next? Because you still need to build your career, you know, you still need to build your brand outside of work so that when you, in your third year, you can actually be marketable. So then when people actually want to hire you, they can be like, no, I've seen Lisa do this, you know, she would be a good asset for the company. So I think also for the fact that we are breaking out of our shell at the moment, we shouldn't just be focused on the job, but focused on building your career. So building your career looks like going to social networking events. That's the biggest, and they're usually for free. That's the thing. They're for free. We went to a cycle event.
They are free.
There's food. You meet a lot of people who are at the top. And for the fact that you're hearing about these different stories, it kind of motivates you because you're like, okay, I'm actually not alone. Since this person did it, surely I can also like pursue what I want to do. Because at the end of the day, articles, this is where you discover your identity. But now the problem is everyone is so scared that you can't speak out for yourself, and then your manager basically imitates, like you want to imitate your manager, and then now that becomes your identity. So by the time you sign off, you haven't built your brand because now you just became a duplicate of the manager that was teaching you. And then that's the biggest mistake that people make. So I think it's actually a good thing that I think audit firms should actually consider having coaching within the firms, because you can actually explore your identity so that you can break out of your shell.
And also another thing on breaking out of your shell, because you spoke about creativity and I actually found out, somebody once told me that they, out of their creativity, so they didn't understand the working papers that were initially assigned to the firm, like this is the way, this is the format and everything. So she actually went and she created her own working paper, like out of the blue. She was like, her own formulas, her own things, she put them in the working paper, and boom, 6 months later, the audit firm sent out the working paper and said, this is the new working paper that came from a trainee. So you see, I think it's
growth requires what? Visibility.
So you see, it's like we ought to believe that we can do more things than just signing and ticking and bashing. You can do so much more in your audit firm if you just step out of there.
And I know one thing that I'm also doing at the moment, right? Thanks to my mentor last year. I mean, she's been like, she was very helpful last year when she mentored me, right? So what she did, she asked me, please, can you list all your hobbies, right? After you've listed all your hobbies, see how can you actually like bring those hobbies and link them to your passion, which is currently like accounting, auditing, and so forth, right? So example, for the fact that I enjoy reading, you know how we suggested that, okay, actually let's start, not reading, I enjoy writing, right? Let's actually integrate that within our article post and start posting, right? So that can actually motivate you into writing. And an example, I enjoy makeup, you know, so how do you bring that into the auditing? In terms of like example, the women event is coming up. Maybe within your firm, you can organize like a sip and paint for the ladies, you know, have like a master class, have makeup. So basically you need to start linking the hobbies, right, into your passion so that you still connected to your identity. That's one thing that I've been doing. And for me, I think it's been working really well. Obviously, guys, days are not the same. There are days where I'm just like, shoot me. Days are not the same. But if you can always bring it back to the hobbies and the things that you genuinely enjoy, you can always find that, you know, that zest within the work that you do, you know? So I really enjoy that. So another thing, right? Do you feel like, for me, I feel like, okay, I've been assessing it for the fact that at the beginning of the year, right, we set our goals. I want to do this, I want to do that, you know? Now comes the middle of the year. How many of us actually go back to those goals and say, okay, have I done this? Have I done this? Have I done that? Because the thing is, we always prepare, right? But then there's never a part where we come and we're like, actually, how do you actually receive now? Because at the end, like at the beginning of the year, you're just like, okay, this is what I want. I want to do this. I want to do that. But then how are you putting yourself in the spaces to receive those goals?
Oh yeah, to execute.
Yes, like you need to
actually
execute.
those
Like
goals.
you can't just be
Yeah.
writing. And hence so many people, like every year, you find yourself at the beginning with the exact same goals.
Yeah,
because you never meet yourself where it's like, okay, we need to execute now. I've written this down, but how? I think that's the key part.
Yeah.
Like people don't know how to execute those goals.
Execute those goals. Yes, I think a lot of the times we think really big and then we don't come back to this.
I want a Range Rover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in the beginning of the year, I could say like, no, I just know I'm gonna lose 30 kg by December. That's gonna be me. I just put that goal out into the sky, or I say, oh, I'm gonna have read like 30 books by year end. But then we don't minimalize those goals. We don't measure them. So okay, we don't take it for a week. Essentially, an audit of your goals. So I want to lose. Okay, let's reduce it a bit. 10 kg, 10 kg. Okay, to get to 10 kg by September, let's say, what do I need to do every single week to get to that? Because I think we set goals and we're like, okay, these are gonna be my goals and this is enough. And then you feel so like it's like a dopamine effect that comes out of it. Okay, I'm going to do all these things, and that dopamine takes over, and then you just forget to think strategically about how you're gonna achieve these things. So even in the workplace, I'm like, I'm gonna be the best audit trainee. Okay, but like how? What does a good audit? Firstly, what does a bad audit trainee do? Okay, eliminate that. So what does a person who doesn't want to lose weight do? Eliminate that. And then what does an okay trainee do versus okay, what does an okay person who eats? Okay, do that, right? Then how do I go above average? You know? So essentially just doing like building blocks of your goals. Because by June
everything.
Exactly, you want to have everything at once.
You want to have everything at once.
You know, like by June, you're like, okay, I haven't actually done this. I haven't because I had a goal to read a book every month. Ask me how many books I've read. Don't even ask me.
I'm gonna invite you to our book club.
Yeah. Oh, your book club. Okay, this
Yes,
is how
I'll invite you to our book club.
Yeah. So I've read like 1.5 books so far, right? And then I was like, okay, now I might as well just start next year. Or I need to,
you know,
think
differing.
Yes.
We like to differ.
Yes. Like the mindset that says like, oh, I guess it's just not for me. Maybe I'll be a better person next year. And the thing is, actually, one trick, this thing that said that you need to stop saying like one day I'll be this person, one day. Just walk into that, just be that person.
Now.
You know, like
now.
if you wanted to be, let's say, the best audit trainee, then just be that. Just be what would someone who you admire do on that day? And then you just become that person. Not become you, but you become the person who you know is inside of you. So you know the type of person you are with those goals. Then just become that person.
Yeah. And remember also we have I was saying with how identity actually links. So I think for the fact that we're currently in the middle, everyone must just task yourself to actually do like an audit assessment of your life.
Yes.
From where you started to where you want to go. We're currently in the middle now. So we spoke about what the middle stands for the fact that you had that momentum at the beginning of the year, right?
Yes.
It ignited that, you know, you had that determination.
Yes.
But now the problem is the discipline starts to dip. You start to defer things. Like, no, I'll do it next year, right?
Yes.
But then you don't realize that discipline is actually about to lead you to your elevation.
Exactly.
So you need to actually bring back that discipline. So start assessing that, okay, what's taking too much of my time? You know, where maybe it's TikTok, maybe you're investing in the wrong stuff, you know?
Yes.
So basically do like an audit lifestyle of the goals that you set at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we want you to actually start finding your identity. And I remember we had that acronym for identity that I have it written here. I am developing and evolving, not to imitate but to yield.
Yes.
So at the moment, you need to do like an audit assessment to say that, okay, at the beginning of the year, I started like this. What character flaws have I taken on which I'm now not imitating my identity?
Yes.
Now I'm starting to imitate someone else. You know, I'm not actually being rooted to the goals that I set out at the beginning of the year. Check those things out, like, you know, declutter. I think we're at a point where we need to declutter so that we can actually start executing the goals that we set at the beginning of the year.
No, that's true.
Yes.
And another great way to also track, a friend of mine and I have been doing this recently, is that every Monday we have a board meeting.
Not a board meeting.
Every Monday,
Not a board
every Monday
meeting.
evening, we discuss, okay, what did you say you're going to do last week? Okay, you said you're going to eat the certain amount of calories, or you said you're going to do training in this, or all these things that you want to achieve. Okay, what haven't you done and why haven't you done it? And the thing is, we need to stop almost being self-soothing. When it
We
comes to achieving your goals,
We
you need
are.
to kind of be like also like relentless with yourself and to look at yourself and say like, okay, I'm not doing what I need to do. It's a tough, hard conversation. It's even worse when somebody's telling you, yo, you haven't been doing this, hey, and then they're taking off your goals.
You need an
like,
accountable
yes,
partner, like someone who holds you accountable.
So they say you need to go one, and that's essentially what happens in an audit room as well. If you think about it, when it's those update meetings, okay, you are only 60%. Please explain why you're here. Please explain why
justify
you're here.
in the courtroom.
Please explain why you're at this point. So even doing it in your own personal life makes it much better to show up in those boardrooms as well, because you know you've had practice of somebody questioning you, and now you can answer that.
So you have to question yourself.
Yes, you have to question, and you have to be honest with yourself. Sometimes I just have to say, yeah, I didn't go to the gym.
Why? Like, you need to scold yourself. And why have you
exactly? And there's no reason. Sometimes there's no reason. You just didn't do it, and that's.
But what's the consequence?
Exactly. Yeah. And then from that week, you can build on it, because you don't want to experience that feeling of being in the boardroom again.
Yeah. And I think also another thing is that we like to set our goals like so big, because that's something that we also both have learned, that okay, we'll have this plan, but it's like, okay, how are we actually going to we need to break it up into like weekly goals to say that, okay, so that it's more measurable. Because remember, we have SMART. We did it back. SMART goals. Like, do all of that. Is it specific, measurable, all of that. So if you set it out weekly, then it's easier for you to actually get to the bigger picture. But now the thing is, we always want to get to the bigger picture.
Exactly.
I just want to skip and just get to the bigger picture. And then, guys, when we bring it back to identity, right? We need to bear in mind that the job that we go to, right? The only thing that it does, it just pays you, right? But now, if you forget about your identity is supposed to sustain you, right? So now, if you're not investing in that identity that's supposed to sustain you, how are you going to grow as an individual? Because the job is just paycheck to paycheck. But your identity, it's gonna bring you into the boardrooms. It's gonna bring you into opportunities. Like, people can automatically think, oh, Tobisa, I remember she mentioned this. That's you putting yourself out to people. So now people will think, oh yes, Tobisa did this. Oh, let me actually bring you on. So that's what I'm saying. Like, your identity will sustain you. Your job, guys, it'll just pay you.
And if you're a trainee, it's 3 years and then you're done.
And then you're done. So if you haven't spent time building your identity, after your articles, what's going to sustain you?
Exactly.
Guys, reality is the employment rate is high, So you need your identity to actually set you apart.
Yes. That's true. And to also, I think the best way to also do that is to treat your job as a networking event.
Yes.
Like, when you're going to a networking event, you go as your best self. You want to show up as your best self. You want people to like you, and because those people are going to take you to a different place. So even the people in your workplace, they're not always forever going to be there. So building up your character, building up that reputation for yourself as well will take you so far. And you can't fake a character. That's what you can't fake
only for so long.
Exactly. Like, we spend 8 hours with you 5 days a week. We know who you are.
We know you are.
Yes, exactly. So building up that identity, being the person you want to show up as, makes it much easier when you want to break out into a different firm or break out into a different industry, or even from audit to banking, for example. So
So guys, just to wrap it up, right? So the biggest thing is that at the moment we're currently all in the middle, right? It's June, we're in the middle. So everyone must just focus on doing like a lifestyle audit, right? Look at the goals that you set up for yourself at the beginning of the year. Sit down and assess that, okay, this is what went wrong. This is what I could maybe improve on. Because right now we have to execute so that when next year comes, you're focusing on new goals. We can't keep having the same goals on the list, And also remember, like in your corporate spaces, right? Just remember that it doesn't mean that when you want growth so that you can be visible. Remember, growth requires visibility. But it does not mean that you have to be the loudest in the room, right? Growth can be quiet, So if you want to see that, are you an asset in the firm? If you are not present on that day, is your presence is your absent felt? Is your absent felt? So sometimes that growth doesn't need you to be So you don't always have to be the loudest in the room, But if the work speaks for yourself, guys,
then
you know
you're
that
done.
you're an asset.
Exactly.
You're an asset.
Yeah. Then you don't have to deal with all the external pressure. How does this person think? Just if you do your work to like the best of ability, and if you're for example, going back to the am I not the best, but am I the only? Am I the only one who genuinely knows how to run this Excel formula, for example? And if you can do that, then I think you're done. You've set yourself up, exactly. You set yourself up for success, and through that, I think your audit training should be like not seamless, but better, much better.
Yeah, it is going to be tough, guys. We're not like sugarcoating. It is going to be tough. You are going to experience the pressure, but the biggest thing, don't let the pressure condition you. Okay, I think that's the biggest thing that we should focus on. Don't let the pressure condition you. Reassess those goals and see how are you actually going to be executing the remainder of the year. Because we have 6 months left. There's still a lot of time.
Yes,
there's still a lot of time. But this brings us to the end of the episode, and we are going to be speaking more about identity, pressure to be an expert, and how can you be an asset. So now we're going to be focusing on the how, because it's the execution part. So we're going to be focusing and breaking it down that how can you actually execute those goals? How can you actually be in contact with your identity so that you can be visible in the workplace? So yeah, guys, this is from us in our new studio. In our new studio. As the youth says. I don't know if I'm Gen Z. I don't know where I fall.
You are Gen Z.
No.
Okay.
I'm a 90s babe, okay?
But how late in the night?
No, I'm not about to disclose my age. I'm not about to disclose my age.
All right.
But guys, please stay tuned. Don't forget to do the most important thing, guys. I know you guys just watch. Don't forget to like,
subscribe.
Yes, and share, guys. Spread the word, because the grind is growing. Don't forget, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And honestly, stay tuned because we have a lot more coming in store. We love you guys. And
Bye.
bye.